Oh, guys, an awesome achievement on a personal level. That's for me, that is. That I finished just yesterday this book. I mean, it looks like some kind of sacred text. You can't quite see it from there. Right, so what was that? I mean, it's a great book. Comes with pictures. Comes with a colouring in section. No, it doesn't. But incredibly eloquent. Wow. Honestly, I'm just so mesmerised by Tim Mackintosh Smith. Rather, by his eloquence. Honestly, the guy is he's so eloquent. I cannot believe it, seriously. I went through the Audible version, but because I got so into it. What I'll do is I'm just going to share a few words on this book, give a little personal review. So, get ready. Buckle down, people. Whilst others are tuning in. Right, so this book, Arabs, a 3,000-year history of peoples, tribes, and empires. And it's authored by Tim Mackintosh Smith. This book, the title could not have been made more boring if he tried. But as it said, people, don't judge a book by its cover. Although this is decorated, however it is, but it sounds so goddamn boring. The title does. You know, Arabs, a 3,000-year history. Who wants to learn about goddamn 3,000 years of... Because this is what the attitude is going to be. You know, going back to the earliest documented Jindabu, coming right up to the modern day Middle Eastern crisis, the Gulf crisis, MBS, or everything that's going on in the Arab world. Who wants to... 3,000 years of a history. It's like, nah, mate. It's like somebody, when I shared this yesterday, they said to me, they looked at it and they commented, I can't disclose who. They said, Mufti, you must have one dead sex life. If that's what you're reading. I was like, oh, rather. One chooses to differ. You know, this book, I'm telling you, when I got into this book, right, I was so mesmerized by the whole thing that I then purchased the hardback. I got on Kindle. I got the Kindle version. So as I would go through it, because it's incredibly lengthy, as you can see, it flows very well. I mean, most of it I went through on Audible. What I would do is sometimes when I was incredibly fascinated by a particular point, I would also, when you open up the Kindle app, it will automatically take you, if you've got Audible and Kindle on the same phone, it will take you to where you are on and it kind of cross-references with each other. So what I would do is occasionally, when I wanted to check up what was that, what did they say, take a screenshot, maybe share it with someone, have a little discussion on it. So I would just go to the Kindle app and just highlight the notes there, screenshot it, take photographs, discuss it in my little groups. Things like this. So, but it flows so incredibly well. It's not a boring book, honestly, by any standard. And it's so much more than history. History is inevitably being taught. That is inevitable. But the book carries certain motifs, certain kind of themes that, this whole identity thing, what does it mean to be an Arab? This elusive term. And the author explores that in the beginning, and who is an Arab? How is anybody actually an Arab? If we're linking it to the Arab, the nomadic culture, or is it to the tongue? And people are Arabs because they are Arabophones, they speak Arabic. But then the irony, or the intriguing irony, is that nobody ever, or hardly ever, truly speaks the High Arabic. Nobody does today, and did they in the past is equally questionable. So he looks into the settlement of the Arabs, how the Arabs became settled, the diverse kingdoms, the conflicts, the development of the language. What did it mean to speak High Arabic? And his theory of how High Arabic developed, because most likely Arabic Fusha, clear Arabic, developed perhaps about 2-3 centuries before the Prophet's lifetime. It's not actually that old before the Prophet. So when it emerges initially, his understanding is that the Arabs, if that's what we want to call them, the Arab people, because you had the southern Arabian kingdoms, the Aksumite kingdoms, which is perhaps modern day Yemen and places like this, where you had the kingdoms of Himyar and Saba, the ancient, the Sheba kingdoms, and the Marib Dam civilization, one of the greatest dams actually in recent modern history. In fact, in human history, that has stood for so long. So what is this? And that is referred to in the Quran as well. So this whole thing of, he looks at these civilizations, the differences they would have had in languages, but in a very exciting way. You see, this sounds dull. This sounds boring when I'm saying it. But in such an exciting way, he ties these kind of themes together, develops them, that how it must have been that people initially, the way you have this speaking in tongues concept, that this is where High Arabic began, this kind of speaking in like tongues, like they're not actually, making maybe they're making some sense, but they're using these words. And there's a lot of rhyming in the words, a lot of kind of rhythm. And from here you get the sha'ir, the development of the sha'ir. Now the sha'ir is not what we think of today as a sha'ir. A sha'ir today is a poet. Simply a poet. Like, I'll sit down, I haven't got any books here, but whether it's Ghalib, Mir Taqi Mir, Dagh Dehlavi, John Elia, these poets of Urdu, for example, these are poets. This is not what the term sha'ir was in when Arabic was evolving. So the sha'ir seems to be someone who, he's not a preacher, but he's somebody like a kahin. So you have the kahin, who is this soothsayer, this kind of person who speaks in tongues and he does all these things. And the sha'ir, he travels with that. He goes to different places. He kind of does this, and hence words are rhyming with each other. And he adds these themes to it, and he enters a trance-like state, a bit like a shaman today. So hence, in early Islam, when they were saying to the Prophet that he's a sha'ir, this is the culture they were kind of relating to. They weren't speaking like today, a poet, oh, he's a poet. They meant like a shaman. And how this sha'ir aids then in the spread of this language called Fusha, or High Arabic. And then how this language kind of continues to go on, the script, because the script we have today is a Nabatean Arabic script. It's not actually the ancient Arabian script. So it was most likely, it becomes embraced in Hijaz during the lifetime of the Prophet, and then Islam aids in the spreading of this script that we have today. It's the Nabatean Arabic script. Because once the Quran gets written in it, then it's on nitro boost. I mean, that becomes the currency. It's what kind of flows. So, but there's this, and all these struggles, the politics, as he starts to question things, he speaks about in this book, characters that went through certain things pre-Islam, after Islam. He questions things like why did the Prophet, I mean, it's understandable that the Prophet gained the support of people, but the Arab were a formidable people. They were a very wild, free-spirited people. It's understandable that they would, maybe even give allegiance. It's understandable. But why would they agree to pay taxes to the Prophet? You see, this was very counter, not only productive, intuitive to the Arab people, the status, the free spirit. So why would these people not only back the Prophet, but they would decide to pay him taxes, which was an insult in the language of the Arab. So it's very interesting how he explores that. He has his theories perhaps, I mean, it's very interesting to look into. It's very, obviously, to sum it up into just a few bullet points would really rob the book of its status. But he looks at all the geopolitical things going on and how they may have played a factor in this. How he feels that Islam, one of the things that incredibly aided Islam and increasingly promoted it or mobilized it, was the fact that it had slogans. This is an interesting observation by the historian on things like how Islam had slogans like Allahu Akbar, which is still continued to be used today as a slogan. How La ilaha illallah is a slogan, as well as obviously it's a profession of faith, but it's a slogan. And how people, it is, you see, when you rally a people, you rally them with slogans. And it's interesting how he explores these things of the mindset of different people, different civilizations, how Islam, when it does settle after the Prophet, the problems, the kingdoms, the Bani Umayyah, the Abbasids, the politics, oh wow, and then right through to the age of, the peak, the age of knowledge and wisdom, and the age of Ma'mun and the early Abbasids, and then the kind of stagnation, and then the decline and everything. I mean, I was just so seriously enamored by this whole thing. I have to give it absolutely top marks. It is for me the second most powerful book I've ever covered in the English language. That's for me, because it covers so much more than history, politics, psychology, philosophy, everything, and so eloquent. But that could be, you see, people said to me that, look, Mufti, so you definitely recommend we get it. I don't know, because as a true, if I'm to be objective, because look, it's not like I'm going to benefit. It's not like I'm on commission, so if you buy the book I get anything, or if you get it on Audible. So a true statement from me is that, look, I don't know. I don't know if it's for you. That's the question. Because, you see, this book came to me with almost divinely, like at a divinely appointed time. It came to me. It came to me at a time when I was researching Islam origin theories. I was looking at the arguments of Islam revisionists like Patricia Crone and other people, and I was going through, Fred Donner and all these other guys, their works. I was questioning a lot of what is Islam history, how did Islam begin, what is the Sharia, and I was going through a whole very, a deep, at an introspective level, internal level, I was going through a very deep, turbulent kind of phase. So, this is maybe late last year, early this year, on trying to understand these things and enhance my understanding. I've got this lens, trying to maybe clear the lens to see more accurately, precisely what is in front of me. Now, this came to me at a time when I was going through that. And I came across it, to be honest, I wasn't that intrigued because the title's boring as hell. But I read a review on Audible, and the person said, well, I'm so amazed that this is so well written, I can't, and, you know, don't be kind of misled or something like this. And I thought, well, what the hell, I'll give it a go. And it brought for me, not all, but so many of the answers. And there was a whole search, obviously. I was reading other works and I'm researching, I was discussing with certain people, and this contributed significantly. To me, this was a godsend. And then the fact that it was written so eloquently, and especially when you're listening to it. And I do like to listen. So I will, you know, I prefer things like Audible and going through audiobooks, and it's got an excellent narrator. So to me, it was brilliant. And like I said, it really just kind of shook my whole world from my understanding perspective. But it may not do that for you. You know, if I've read this book 5 years ago, it would have probably meant very little to me. But at this stage in life, it's maqam par. You know, once we reach this maqam, it's, you know, it's invaluable. So that's my, you know, top marks for it, people. And if you're into that, you may love it. If you're not into it, don't say, you know, oh, Mufti, what the hell? Yeah, we're wasting our money and our Audible credits. So that's that. What book are you discussing? I'm discussing the book Arabs, a 3,000-year history of peoples, tribes and empires. Like I said, boring as hell. Title, book, wow. Book is just too goddamn good. I did say if it was up to me, I would make it mandatory. I would make it compulsory in every Islamic studies curriculum. If it were up to me. That's, so people who want to study Islam, it's a must. Perhaps at some stage for them. At a slightly